I'm a 19-year-old female, and at the time that this all happened to me, I was 17. So just to give some long and necessary background, I was, and still am, dating a guy named Kyle. That's not his real name, but go with it. And we shared a small group of friends. We were all pretty close to each other. We did almost everything together, especially when it involved smoking weed and doing other harsher substances. They were pretty chill and trustworthy friends, or so I thought. Anyways, 2 weeks before my junior year started, I was hanging out with the group at one of their houses, and I just so happened to fall asleep after a while of being there. I woke up probably 5 minutes later to one of my friends touching my inner thigh. Just to know, I was the only female in the group, and my boyfriend wasn't there when this occurred. He was at show choir practice, so he couldn't have been there even if he wanted to. When the friend touching me noticed I woke up, he immediately stopped, and I ran to the bathroom crying. I've been assaulted before, so going through it again just isn't the greatest feeling. A few minutes passed, and I left the bathroom. I pulled one of my friends aside and told him what happened. His response shocked me. He said he saw what happened, but he didn't stop him. I don't know why he didn't, and I guess I'll never know. But that same friend told me not to tell Kyle, because he didn't want any friendships ruined. Well, I obviously told Kyle after show choir practice, and he was understandably pissed off. We've come to the agreement that he will no longer be friends with them anymore. A few days went by, still avoiding the group, and we would receive a lot of messages from them, but they were shocking and hurtful messages saying I'm being overdramatic, that it's my fault that it happened. Just act like nothing else happened. He didn't really sexually assault me, and so on. I was pretty destroyed reading all of those messages coming from these so-called friends, but for some stupid reason, we all became friends again when we started school. I know what you're probably thinking. Why would we go back to that shitty group of friends? I guess our only lame excuse is that we hate confrontation, and we wanted things to go back to normal. I wanted to feel normal again. Well, obviously it wasn't the best idea, taking those friends back, especially the one who touched me, because it started to really affect me mentally. I became super depressed. I developed really bad trust issues with everyone, including my boyfriend. I would constantly have panic attacks throughout the day. I started self-harming again. I was extremely suicide, and I was failing all of my classes because I rarely showed up to school. The school attendants and staff had no idea what was wrong with me. I would refuse to tell them and my family. But one day came around and I couldn't hold it in anymore. I told my family, and at first they were supportive, but then it quickly changed. I don't really want to go into the details, but for a long time, I felt so alone. Later on, around November 2017, my boyfriend did something behind my back with another girl. He didn't cheat on me. He just sold some weed to her, but for some odd reason, I mentally got worse. I didn't know how to cope with anything else that was happening to me. I started mentally abusing my boyfriend, like extremely bad, to where he hated himself. And I think at some point, he even became suicidal. Deep down it made me happy. I wanted someone to feel pain too. But it got so bad to where we broke up twice. But then we got back together the same day, each time. Now, fast forward to around February 2018. One night, that's when it happened. I was having trouble sleeping, and it was getting late. I also had school the next morning, so I was getting pretty frustrated. Finally, around 1 AM, starting to doze off, I found myself awake probably about 10 to 15 minutes later, and I noticed a tall, dark figure standing across the room in my closet. At first, I thought it was my older brother messing with me, because he's done stuff like this before. But as I tried to say his name, I couldn't. That's when I realized I couldn't speak, and couldn't move. I was paralyzed. So as I'm staring at this figure in my closet, wondering what is happening, the figure starts to move closer to me. Then I noticed it kind of looks like it was floating towards me. I can feel myself panicking, but I couldn't move or say anything. So when the tall dark figure reached the side of my bed, I kid you not, it bent over and grabbed my nose. Now I couldn't breathe through my nose or mouth. I'm just staring at this dark figure. Its face was so close to mine, but I couldn't make out any features. I can feel my heart trying to break out of my chest. My lungs are hurting like hell because I couldn't breathe. I legitimately thought I was going to die. But suddenly, I quickly sat up, gasping for air, looking around my room for that figure. But it wasn't there. I was scared. I was so scared. I didn't know what just happened. I thought I just had the most realistic nightmare of my life. I mean, I guess that's what kind of happened. The next morning, when my boyfriend picked me up for school, I told him about the realistic nightmare. He said, "That's creepy," and that was that. A few weeks later, I brought it up to my older brother, and that's when he told me that I actually had sleep paralysis. I had no clue what sleep paralysis is, but after hearing his definition of it and doing some research, I was really freaked out. I read online that stress, anxiety, depression, sleep problems, and some other things can cause sleep paralysis. I realized that everything that had happened to me sort of recently played a big part in my sleep paralysis episode that night. I would be lying if I said I didn't have trouble sleeping for a while after that, but I eventually got over it. But every now and then, I do get a little nervous to go to sleep.